Midday Digital Media. Smart strategy, creative delivery.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome and welcome back to our channel. So, today in the Boss Lady edition, we have a boss lady herself. I won't say much, I'll give her time to introduce herself. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Khadija. How are you?
Hi Veronica. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for creating time for us. So, I would like to know. Actually, I know you as Aya. Where did Aya come from?
Aya is my nickname that I got from my family when I was younger. My name is Khadija, but when I was younger, I couldn't pronounce it properly, so I would say Aya, and that's how it stuck. And it's something very intimate in terms of my friends and family call me Aya.
Okay, so like, how was your education? How education from maybe primary to nini now to becoming a boss lady, the boss lady that you are right now. How did that begin? Because everything starts from somewhere. So
Yes.
how did that begin?
So I was born and raised in Mombasa. I come from a Swahili community. We are from Kisauni, which is one of the low-income communities in Mombasa. And I went to school in Mombasa from primary school to high school. I went to Shah Primary School and then transitioned to high school in a school called Star of the Sea High School, also based in Mombasa. And since I was young, I was very interested. I was a very curious child. I really loved to read and explore, and I really loved science. So one of the things that my father did was he encouraged me to continue pursuing that curiosity, and he would get me newspapers, articles, and magazines to learn more about science, such as National Geographic and the likes. And then I remember when I was in class 4, it was a long time ago, and it was at the height of the millennia where there was the internet boom. And my father paid for me to do my computer packages. I was in class 4 then.
Class 4.
Yes, so it was very exciting for me, and it made me more comfortable with using a computer and understanding how to use technology. And that's where my passion for technology started. So after that, when I graduated, unfortunately, I was part of the group that graduated during the post-election violence. So, and that was in 2007, 2008. So I had big dreams. I wanted to go abroad. I had gotten a partial scholarship to go study computer science abroad, but unfortunately, my dreams were shattered because at that point, the whole country was going through a very difficult time. I stayed home for 2 years, hoping for the best, and I got an opportunity to join Catholic University of East Africa to do a computer science degree. It wasn't an easy decision for my family. At that point, people were asking, if you do computer science, are you going to work in a cyber cafe? Because people didn't understand anything beyond, what computers were used for in our country at that point. My dream was to become a game developer, develop video games, because I was also very, I was interested in those kind of things. But I ended up doing software engineering as a major in university. And it was a very exciting time in my life because it was the first time I came to Nairobi to study that. And it's not very easy for a young Muslim woman from Mombasa to get that kind of opportunity to leave home and study in Nairobi. And because of my enthusiasm for tech and understanding technology, I applied for a student program at Google called Google Student Ambassador Program. And I represented my school in that program. It's a global program where students get to engage with different Google products and also bring awareness to those products to their campuses. So because of that, I was able to work with both students and our faculty in understanding which Google products can be used in school for communication or other tools that can be helpful for both students and lecturers.
So you said that you graduated in 2007. In 2007, the digital way, like right now, was not well appreciated by
Yeah.
the people. Now, how did you, as a student, as a young Muslim lady who wanted to pursue things concerning digital media, digital marketing, and many people had no clue what that was. Was it difficult for you to explain to the people, make people understand what that is? How was it difficult?
I wouldn't say it was difficult then because people had seen that digital was the future. People had already become more aware of how technology is integrated into our society. And specifically in Kenya, the ecosystem was already growing because of the rise of M-Pesa. At that point, M-Pesa was just a new product, but we saw that a lot of Kenyans had an understanding of how to use M-Pesa, and it came at an intersect where mobile technology, specifically mobile technology, was also growing. So people were using phones such as Ideos. I don't know if you remember that, but it was one of the first low cost smartphone devices, and a lot of Kenyans were interested with the internet at that point. So we did not see the internet as something that is going to be as huge as it is now, but we did understand that the internet is going to be part of our lives, and a lot of people also understood that the internet is something that is going to bring better opportunities for the country. And I must say, at that point, the president, who was President Kibaki, Mwai Kibaki, the late president, was a huge supporter of education and technology. And the policies in Kenya at that time allowed for the growth of the ecosystem, and which made it easier for young people like myself to tap into technology and make the best out of the web.
You talk about as a young youth. Maybe you were a young youth. How did you maybe empower the other youths to come into technology? How was it? How was the process of empowering them? Because sometimes when you empower people, it may be difficult to do that. How did you empower, or did you consider empowering the youths to come and join tech?
Yes, it's something I'm very passionate about to this day. I started off, even when I was in campus, teaching. I was a trainer. I was training people how to use Word documents on the computer. How can you be able to write good emails? And I would do that with my peers, especially around the Mombasa community. Another thing that also came up was a lot of parents used to come up to me and ask me to help their children understand how they can apply for IT-related courses. So I started mentorship as well, and mentoring young people who are interested in going to technology, and also connecting them with the different communities, because tech is built around communities. As you know, technology is a global thing, and there's always a community of people you can connect with who have the same interests as you, whether it's mobile technology or web technologies or the new technologies that are coming up. There are existing communities where you can learn from peers, because what we saw is most of the time the curriculum in our education system was not catching up with technology at that point.
Yeah. So I did a research of you. You are the youngest board member in AMREF. Congratulations for that.
Thank
And that
you.
is why we are calling you a boss lady,
Oh,
because you are
thank
a
you.
boss lady.
Thank
So
you
how
so
did
much.
that come to be? How did you become the youngest board member at AMREF?
Yes, thank you so much. September is my 1-year anniversary since I joined the board for AMREF Flying Doctors. I got the opportunity to join the board when they announced that they are looking to fill in their board seats with people who are in technology as well as youth. I wasn't really sure if I should apply, but I was very encouraged by my mentor who told me that she thinks I would be a great fit for it. So I applied. I sent in my CV. I did an interview, actually did 2 rounds of interviews, and I didn't hear from them for a while. But what I didn't understand is the reason why it took so long is because you need to be approved by the board to join the board. And the board usually meets once every 3 months. So for those 3 months, I wasn't sure. I was like, maybe they went with someone else. You know, I thought of it the way you would think of a job interview. But thankfully, I finally got my letter. I was very excited to learn that the board unanimously agreed to have me as one of the board members. It's been an interesting journey because being a board member requires you to be very confident in your leadership skills. The decisions that are made at board level affect the company as a whole, and there's also legal responsibilities that come with being a board member. So it took me a while. I had to learn a lot very quickly, everything from finance to managing people to all the other things that come with being a board member. But I'm very thankful that I'm part of a great board which is led by our chairman, Clyde Thompson, who have been helping me a lot understand the priorities of the company and be part of the vision and the strategy of where we're taking the company.
As a young board member at AMREF, do you maybe lose a little bit of confidence, maybe giving out your opinions to the other members, because they are obviously experienced people who are older than you? Do you maybe feel a way of showing some respect to them? Maybe are you afraid sometimes?
At this point, no, because they are my peers. You know, when you're sitting as a board member, you're equal. You're all equal, and you're all looking at the same vision and the same strategy. At the beginning, it was a bit difficult because I don't have a background in finance, but it required me to go out of my way to learn that skill. So I bought books. I had an opportunity to speak to some of my colleagues who are board members, people I work with in my day-to-day job, and I got really good information. And another thing is AMREF invested in me and took me through different trainings, board trainings, and one of the trainings that I did was finance. So in my first meetings, I was pretty nervous, you know, but it requires a lot of preparation. Before you go into a board meeting, there's something called board papers that are sent to you about 3 weeks before the board. So you get enough time to read and prepare your questions because you already know the vision and the strategy for the company. So you must ask questions that are going to help the management team in finding solutions around the strategy and the vision. So that was very helpful, yeah.
So before the interview, you just told us that you did a little bit of production.
Yes.
You are a producer.
Yes.
How did that come to be?
It's the hassle of being a young Kenyan. You know, when I graduated university, it was very hard finding a job right out of university. And as most Kenyans do, young Kenyans do, we check the job that is available for us at that point. I was lucky. I got an opportunity to join a production company called Village Creative. They're based out of Lavington, and they make TV commercials. It was a very interesting role. I didn't start as a producer. I started as a database administrator because of my tech background. They had a couple of softwares that they were using, and they needed someone who's going to be able to help them understand how to use those softwares. That's how I started. And then I remember one day, that means I had a desk job. One day there was a presentation that needed to be done for a client, and one of the producers was having a difficult time with the slides, the presentation. And I said, I can help you. And this is something that they used to pay someone to do that, to put together a presentation, and that person will request maybe a week to prepare it. So I did it in like 15 minutes, and they're like, wait. how is that possible? I'm like, yeah, it's just, you put the pictures, you do the content, and so I joined the meeting with the director and the producer and the client. And when they were doing the presentation, I learned a lot about directors' treatments and how producers think about budgets and art direction and all of that. So having joined a team that was doing all those kind of things, especially in a small production company, I had to also help and do other things. First, I started with casting. I would be part of the casting team and going outside, talking to people, and because a lot of people in Kenya are not professional actors. So sometimes we had to go outside and, talk to people and tell them, would you be interested in trying this and do this? And that's how I started. I was in the company for 3 years, started as a database administrator. And when I left, one of the last projects I did was cast directing for Sauti Sol for their video called Nerea, as well as doing a print production for Safaricom for an advert called Never Miss a Moment. Yeah.
Wow. So you are a jack of all trades. You can
You
do
must.
it.
In Kenya, you get the skills that you learn maybe from formal education. And then there are the skills that you learn from working, And even when I was working in production, some of the skills that I learned in production, I'm still using in my career now, which include negotiating and also learning how to communicate with people. Yeah.
So you work currently, you work at Google.
Yeah.
What do you do at Google? And how did that come to be working at Google? It's Google.
Google.
Yeah.
Yes, I am currently a developer ecosystem manager, which means me and my team, our team, we are based out of Africa. We support developers and startups that are working in the market, understand how they can use Google products for their work, whether it's Google Cloud or Android, and others like Google Assistant and now machine learning and AI. So it's a very, very cool job that I love very much because it gives us an opportunity to connect with young people across Africa in a way where they're learning new skills or they're building cool things, and we get to be part of their story while they do these things which are solving problems for Africa.
Yeah, how did that come to be? How did you join Google?
That was about 6 years ago. I've been at Google for 5.5 years. I started as a community manager, and the reason I applied for that job is because when I was working in production, what I learned was working in the Kenya media and content industry, the pay is not really good, and it's not guaranteed that you're always going to get paid. If there's work, you work. If there's no work, you stay home. So I decided that I wanted to go back into tech because that was my passion and that's what I wanted to do. And I did a training called Google Digital Skills for Africa. It's a digital literacy training that teaches young people in Africa how to use the internet and learn different skills on the internet, which include digital marketing. So when I did that, I was really, really interested in setting up my own digital agency because I was always very interested in social media as well as building apps. So when I learned that skill, and you get your certificate to show that you did this training, I decided I want to start my own company and I want to do digital marketing. It wasn't easy, but because I had already contacts and an understanding of creating content in, when I was doing production in creating ads, I knew where to start, and I had a lot of people that I knew who would need my services, because we work with a lot of artists and actors. So that's where I started. And then I got an opportunity to work with the agency that was working with Google for the Digital Skills for Africa program. And what I was doing through my company was creating metrics and assessment tools to see if these trainings are actually helping young people in Kenya, and how can Google improve from that. So that was actually a really big deal for me as a startup. You know, it was a good contract, a good client, and I really wanted to impress them. And what I did is I would give them weekly reports and tell them, this is what you can do, this is what works in Kenya, and this is, you know, how we can do it. And so when there was an opportunity to join the team that was doing digital skills in Africa, I applied for the role for a community manager, and did the interviews, and I was able to join the Google marketing team at that point. And as a community manager, what you're doing is you're helping the partners on the ground get to different parts of Kenya to deliver the training. It was a very interesting role because it taught me how to work with government. Because for that training, because we were working with young people, we worked closely with the Ministry of Education, Ministry of ICT, and Ministry of Youth Affairs. It was very interesting, and I also got to use my skills of managing people and communicating with people in that role as well. So that's how I joined Google.
So you have your agency
Yes.
called Medina.
Yes.
Why choose the name Medina?
Medina is my mother's name. And the reason why I picked her name was because she passed away before I graduated high school, and she used to tell me, I want you to work hard and go to university. You know, I think you're going to do big things. So when I started my first big thing, it felt just right to name it after her.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're a single mom,
Yes.
and with your type of work, you travel a lot.
I do.
How do you maybe balance motherhood and being a boss lady? How do you do that?
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy at all. You know, I have my days where I'm panicking. I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing. But I must say that it takes a village to raise a child. And I'm so, so blessed to have a strong community that supports me, whether it's my family or my friends. So that's been my backbone, to be honest. That's the reason why I've been able to thrive and do it all. And I don't like saying doing it all, because I don't do it all. I do my best, but I don't do it all. And what I've been able to do is give myself the grace to understand that, you know, sometimes I just need to rest. Sometimes I need to ask for help. Sometimes I need to focus on one thing at a time. So I just learned to have the discipline to manage my time. That's helped me a lot. I've learned to call my sisters when I need help. Also helps me a lot. And I've also learned how to communicate and manage my manager's expectations at work. Also helps a lot. You have to tell them, this is what I can do, this is what I cannot do. This is when I'm available, this is when I'm not available. So it's just a balance. Every day it looks different, but I try my best.
Yeah. And maybe do you think like maybe your son would understand? He's just a little boy.
He was born during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So and we were working from home. I still work from home most days. So he grew up seeing me on my computer all the time.
Yeah.
So every time he sees my computer, he would say, Mama works? Mama is at work? He's like, shh, Mama works? So he kind of has an understanding of what Mama does. Yeah.
So that is just amazing.
Thank you.
And the way you are juggling motherhood and working, maybe you need a prize because it's difficult to maybe to a lot of mothers
It is.
out there who maybe leave their children with the house manager. They don't know, maybe they don't trust the house manager. They are just at work, but their mind is
It's true.
at home. So
Yeah.
maybe do you have maybe a house manager who helps you? You just call your family who?
Yes, I do have a house manager, and she's amazing. You know, she's really amazing. But it took me a long time to find a good one who's amazing. You know, I've had a few challenges up and down, and what I've been able to do is first find an area where my child can have a good, healthy environment where he can grow up. And then he unfortunately had to start school very early. You know, I took him to daycare at 1 year because I had to work. He's been in playgroup and, you know, had to go to school pretty early, but it's helped him a lot because he's a pandemic baby. So they didn't get to socialize when they were very young. So it gave him an opportunity to learn how to socialize and also be with other people. So that also helps. But yeah, it's hard for most mothers. It's very hard, especially when you don't have a village. But what I would encourage is to find your village. It takes a village to raise a child. Your village might not be your sister and your mother and your family because maybe you're far away from home, but it could be your neighbors, your house manager, your child's teacher, and, you know, people around and your friends. And also, if you're working, make sure that you also speak to your team at work and let them understand the dynamics in your home. That helps.
Maybe you can tell us one thing that we don't know about Khadija.
What?
One thing we don't know.
One thing you don't know about Khadija, at this point, I am about to graduate as a biker. I'm learning how to ride a motorbike, and I'm about to buy my first dirt bike.
Wow. Wow. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty cool, I know. It's one of those things I tried it, and it's really, really, I went to a bike school to learn how to ride it, and I really, really enjoyed it, and it's something that I want to do as a hobby.
Maybe, what can you tell maybe the young youths who are maybe trying to build their way? They're coming up the ladder, but they think that maybe it's slow. They want it as fast as possible because in the Gen Z era, we want everything to be just
Right now.
fast. If we want money now. Maybe you can give us a word of advice to the Gen Z, to the youths, to the people who expect something and maybe they don't get it the way they want it to be. And many people in this generation, they are indulging to depression, and they don't know who to talk to. They don't get the right advice. There's advice, yes, but the right advice is what maybe we need. What can you maybe tell them?
You know, people say that this generation want things and they want things fast, but they don't understand the nuance of how they grew up. They grew up in a world where if you need, you know, a taxi, you go on an app and the taxi is there in 1 minute. If you want food, you go on an app and the food is delivered in 20 minutes. So the environment that they're growing up in is a fast-paced environment where things, it's called instant gratification. You know, things are available right now. And that's the reason why they feel like some things take a long time. I would say first, it takes time. It does take time. And so you have to be easy on yourself and the process that you need to take. That is one. Two, you must learn skills of the future. Yeah? The skills of the future are the jobs that are going to be available in 5 years, in 10 years. That is around content, that is around data, artificial intelligence, writing, video recording, you know, that kind of media, and many others in different industries. So have that discipline to train yourself and teach yourself new skills. You know, be humble enough to know that you can learn something new. You don't always have to be at, yeah, this is what I know. Mimi nakuanga tu hivi. You know, I think that also holds people back from reaching their potential, because opportunities are there, but nowadays the opportunities require you to have very specific skills. So understanding what is needed is very important in the job market, the future of work. There's a lot of research around the future of work and how the workplace would look like in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. And we see the companies that are going into that future. And then in terms of mental health, I'm a mental health advocate. I actually do content called Mental Wellness Mondays. Every Monday around how can we better take care of our health. And the reason why is, as a young person, I also had, at some point of my life, had challenges with anxiety. And I wouldn't say depression, it wouldn't be something that is defined as depression, but I was depressed. And what I did is, at some point, I had to go to therapy and speak to a professional to understand. And I did something called cognitive behavioral therapy, which helps you with negative self-talk. So that really helped me. And I believe that young people right now are actually more aware of mental health than our previous generations. Before, people would go through death, go through job loss, maybe divorces, and they would still show up and not check in with their bodies. What I would say is, have an understanding of yourself, right? Have a sense of awareness. So when you're angry or you feel like you're having strong emotions, name that emotion. What is it called? It's anger. Why am I angry? Because it has made me angry. Why would that trigger anger in you? Because it reminded me of something. Because what we've learned now with mental health is everything is tied into your childhood, or your inner, what we call the inner child. You know, what you did see or did not receive as a child affects your mental health. So have an understanding of that. Second, because of social media and how people view themselves or how people present themselves on social media, there's additional pressure that affects self-esteem. Understand that people's journeys are not your journey. Where you're going is not where they are. And it's okay. If your friend has graduated and got a big job and you haven't, it's okay. Your time is coming. It's just not right now. What do you need to do right now to prepare yourself so that when you get that job, you are in the right state of mind to thrive and succeed in that role? And that is something I learned when I became a board member, because it was an additional role where I was already stretched as a mother, as a working woman, you know, traveling and all of that. So I asked myself, what do I need to do in order to succeed in that? And it was make sure that I'm sleeping enough, make sure that I'm eating healthy, making sure that I'm taking my fitness seriously. So I carve out time to make sure that I do the things that will take care of me in order to show up in a way that is going to set me up for success.
Yeah. So there is a debate going on in most of the universities about the AI. So most of the lecturers tend to say that AI makes students lazy.
Oh.
Because if you have a question, any assignment, you just write the question down and you have answers there. You don't have to think about it because most students don't want to think about that. So there's this conversation going on. So what is your take there? Do you think AI came in to maybe make people lazier, or maybe came in to improve people?
As a tech enthusiast, I believe AI is here to help if used properly. I think if you're using AI to cheat exams, that is more of a moral and ethical issue than it is an AI issue. And as much as there are tools to help young people with plagiarism, create things that do not belong to them, or they did not create, or present things that they did not create. There are also tools to help lecturers see if this content is original or not. I think, yeah, every student is going to try and get creative.
Yeah.
Always. But AI, the reason for artificial intelligence and machine learning is to be helpful. That was the goal. So how students use it is actually a very interesting case study, a use case. We call them use cases that I'm very keen on in my own job, because it helps us understand how humans think and interact with the machine, because that's how the machine learns. Yeah.
Kenya, we have started embracing digital. Right now, there are even electric cars, electric motorbikes. Maybe in the next 10 years, do you see Kenya maybe even in future, in 10 years maybe, do you maybe think Kenya, there will be no need of people maybe even reporting the news, because the news will already be there? Maybe do you think reporters will be out of work because they just need digital money just to post the news, anything that happens? Maybe do you think that maybe the future of Kenya in the next 10 years will be a lot more easier or a lot more difficult?
I think it's hard to tell at this point if it's difficult or easier, but there's something that we've discussed with my peers in tech around how people are perceiving AI now. And we like to say, just like when calculators were invented, everyone thought we'll no longer need accountants and mathematicians. Now we are in that age where people think that AI is here to take jobs. No, AI is here to complement what journalism is doing. No machine is going to have an empathetic, compassionate, all-rounded view of a human story like a journalist. No robot can do that. Yeah. So what AI is going to do is to help journalists with tools, maybe in fact-checking. Yeah, because now we're in the height of fake news. It's going to help journalists with better understanding the environments that they are going into when they're collecting news stories. But I don't see a world where, AI is going to take over in that way. And for the people who are now using social media as media industries, with just maybe a social media manager posting, that's not considered news. That's considered content. News requires you to have a human perspective to analyze, what you have collected. When you go meet a politician and they tell you that this is what we're going to do, it requires you as a journalist to understand, is it as per the Kenyan constitution and the policies around this, and challenge that. So that's what journalists do. And I don't think AI tools are going to take that away.
I just have a question that I've been asking myself for a while. When it comes to, let me say, Chat GPT, that is the AI that is mostly used with maybe doing some research. Maybe you don't know anything about how to write a report, how to do anything, you just do that. How does it work? Are there people just behind the computer typing, expecting you to ask a question? Or even also in Google, when you search something about someone, it just pops up. When you search something about anything, it just pops up in no time. How does that work?
It's not people. It's so funny because I get that question a lot. It's not people sitting at the back. We don't have a team sitting at the back answering questions. It's mathematics. It's a science and a mathematics. It's called algorithms. So it's something where you build an algorithm that says, if Khadija asked this question, you should go to this place, search for all the data around that, and then give her the best possible answers that can come, you know, that are tied to that question.
Yeah.
So it's something called indexing, where everything that is put on the internet is indexed by a computer. And then when you put in the search, the algorithm uses that indexing to find the best possible answer. And what I would like to give as a caveat to that is to say that the search is not going to give you the best in terms of correctness of the answer. It's going to give you the most optimized answer. That is, there's a company maybe that has a website that has worked on that content in a way that answers the question that you want. It doesn't mean it's always right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of AI, it's that's why we say AI ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning. So the machines are taught. You put in data sets, and it's done by researchers and computer scientists and very intelligent people. They put together different data sets on different things, and then they feed that data to the machines, and then the machine has a way where it processes that in natural language. Natural language is the way you and I talk.
Yeah.
And then gives you that answer like the way you and I talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not people working. Maybe in the future, do we expect you to maybe have a tech company that is run by you? You're the CEO of that tech company. Do we maybe expect something like that?
Actually, yes, that's my goal. You know, I started my company when I was very young. I didn't have the skills to be a CEO, and but I'm very passionate about building products for Africa and working with people who are building solutions for Africa. So hopefully in the future, at some point, I would love to start a tech startup again, build something around fintech, which is finance in technology, or agri-tech, which is solutions around agriculture, which I think is very important in Africa. So yeah, that is the goal. Because in corporate, when you're a working woman, you know, there's only so much you can be able to do while you're also doing other things. I would love to get married, have more kids. So hopefully at some point, I will not need an 8 to 5. I can just build my business and, you know, be a mother.
Away from the serious issues now, we are going to have a fun moment.
Okay.
Yes, your talent.
Organizing things, color coordinated organization.
And maybe what you have done that you don't know. Anything, what you have done that you don't know about.
Riding a motorcycle.
Okay. Best food, the favorite food.
Pilau. Mi ni Mswahili.
Do you cook? And if you cook, which is your favorite meal to cook?
I do cook because I'm Swahili, and my favorite thing to cook is pilau because that's my favorite food.
How many siblings?
I have one sister, but because I am from a Swahili family, I have very many siblings that did not come from my mother's womb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. That was really nice.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you.
You have heard it from the boss lady herself, from Medina Digital Media, the Boss Lady Edition. I've been your host, Vero Gitiha. See you next time.